Farmers market early Saturday morning, and people are starting to just trickle in right now. So yeah, we're here with apples and grapes. It's our first year selling the Honeycrisps, and actually we kind of do it just because people ask for them a little bit, but I almost hate to sell them because there's so many other good apples that are around and they don't try anything else. But there's like, you know, there used to be 10,000 apple varieties, and nowadays people can struggle to name 10. So there's a lot of other good stuff out there.
I'm a little concerned with some of our tree fruit crop that this is the time of year when they are setting their buds for next year. And if there's too much drought now, it could affect our crop going into the future. But our trees are pretty well established, so they seem to do pretty well. They don't look like they're too stressed out yet. Cecil usually likes the farmer's market for about the first 3 hours that we're here, and then it kind of goes downhill for the last hour and a half. So. We've been establishing an organic mixed fruit orchard since 2009. We have about 5 acres outside of Menominee, Wisconsin. We met in Minneapolis in 2004. And in 2006 and 2007, we spent some time traveling in South America, and we ended up spending a couple months at a mixed fruit and vegetable farm in Argentina.
We didn't have any farming experience when we started, but they were doing a lot of fruit, and it was a small family, and that's how they were making all their money. We worked really hard, but it was pretty rewarding.
Spending the day outside, we really thought, hey, this is the lifestyle we'd like to live. This has really resonated with us.
So we've got maybe another acre to plant in here. The name of the farm is Mary Dirtyface Farm. We've been kind of phasing in our plantings gradually so that any one year we don't have too many new plants that we have to kind of worry about babying along. When we purchased the property, it was a hayfield with 5 acres of woods, and that's about it. So everything we built, we've done ourselves. We've kind of been moving from one building that we construct to the next. So we slept in that little building on the north side of the orchard, the barn. And we actually had an excavator in here to grade it out and then put a slab in. We were shoveling out, you know, the 1,200 square foot slab a lot in the winter when we were working on it. And it was a long, tough winter that year.
We bought this land that didn't have any utilities coming to it. And so for us to bring in electricity from the grid would have cost a substantial amount.
We got 12 batteries, and we sized the system so that we could probably get by for 5 cloudy days.
And so if we were going to make that investment, it made sense to make that investment in a solar system. We collect rainwater off the roof of the house, and that water we use for all of our domestic water. In terms of the startup cost, digging a well was going to be really expensive, and the rainwater collection was actually a pretty...
Yeah, it was a small percentage of the cost of digging a well. So. So our house is a passive solar design. It faced south, and it actually warmed up really nice when it was even in February. Kind of a mix of construction techniques. There's some straw bale, there's some stick frame construction. This wall is made out of straw bales and then plastered on both sides. So basically it was a simple like stick frame on the outside. The bales were notched and then set into the studs. The floor, we just poured a slab and dyed just the top layer and then polished it.
We poured the concrete countertop. We had some friends who had done that before. They came out and helped us. So we cut some aspen trees out of the woods and peeled those, and we got kind of a neat result, and we're pretty happy with it.
In some of the rooms of the house, we have LED strips that are on top of these small diameter trees that we peeled and then cut in half. My background is in engineering, but I didn't have any construction experience other than, being a homeowner and, doing household projects and that kind of thing. I learned a lot of lessons the hard way, but they were really good learning experiences.
We have a really great view from up here, and that was a big factor in deciding to purchase this land. We looked at a lot of places that were just really flat and old cornfields and didn't have much character. And when we found this place that really had a lot of rolling hills, that really was what drew us here. For us, not knowing a whole lot about fruit before we got started, when we're doing things by hand, one of the advantages is that we're really up close with the trees. And so we see a lot of things that you wouldn't see from a tractor.
So using the scythe is a lot of work, but even though we can mow with a tractor now, I still like to do this if I can. It does a really good job at mulching, and I'm also mowing at the same time, so I'm kind of killing a couple birds with one stone. I'm still worried a little bit about our knowledge on different bugs and pests and diseases because, we're not agronomists. I think it's gooseberry fruitworm that's kind of going to town on our gooseberries right now.
It looks like in a lot of these cases, the worms have already left.
Yeah. Sometimes we find things out there that we don't really feel like we've got a good hold on, and we have to figure out what they are and what to do about them.
Oh, gross.
I don't know what it's probably called a worm.
It's a Lepidoptera larva.
Yeah, it's a soft-bodied insect. So we just gotta go around, pick all the bad ones off. We can hopefully get the worms, and then as these ripen, we won't have the problem anymore.
We're growing things like apples and raspberries that are easy to sell, that people are familiar with.
First pears.
But apart from that, we are growing a lot of varieties that aren't as familiar to people.
So far, I don't know what this variety is going to taste like. I've never had it before.
We have a lot of currants and gooseberries, and they're not something that people are necessarily looking for.
Our first currants.
Gooseberries are great. Gooseberries are pretty sweet.
They're not as tart as the currant, so they're actually pleasantly surprised most of the time. And they make a great juice and jam and stuff.
And so it's an interesting challenge, I think, to be able to introduce those products to people. And some people get really excited about them, and some people hate them. So there's a little bit of both.
They're hard to keep weeded, as you can kind of tell.
Right.
When we were looking for a name for the farm, we discovered some local lore from the history of the county that talked about a Native American woman that was given the name Mary Dirty Face by the local boys.
So the story said that she was married involuntarily to one of the executives from the lumber company, but she refused to have anything to do with him. And we liked the sound of the name and the local relevance, and then also the kind of rebellious spirit of the woman, and we decided to name the farm after her. What we've come to realize is that agriculture involves interrupting the systems that are working in nature and destroying some part of that system to be able to get a product and produce food. I think that's one thing that really drew us into fruit production in particular, because we were very interested in the perennial cropping system and how we can produce a healthy product while respecting those systems that are in place and finding ways to minimize the destruction and also doing something restorative.
People